I'm not foolish enough to think that the entirety of WordPress's growth is driven by our love for the software, but that we consultants are responsible for a sizable portion of it. A portion that shouldn't be ignored, and one that should be welcomed to the discussion more often. Underrepresented, perhaps. I know many of you are like me. We don't run 100-person agencies, we don't have 1 million plugin downloads, and we haven't been contributing code to core for the last decade. However, what we do share in common is a life of servicing customers in the online business space. Servicing customers or our local community by way of building websites, helping organizations amplify their message. This act of service is deeply rooted in using our favorite tool, WordPress. Sure, we're talking less and less about the tech side of things lately, but we know that it delivers a massive advantage as a platform to our customers, an advantage that might not matter to them in the short term, but in the long-term sustainability of their business. While many might join the ranks of offering WordPress services simply for the fact that it represents a big market to cash in on, and we all know that person, I believe many of us are in it for the right reasons. Promote the use of open source software. Give our customers a chance to own a sliver of their online presence and data. Provide a flexible and sustainable platform for future opportunity, and to earn an honest living through this service. It's at this point where I begin to disagree with a part of Matt Mullenweg's theory of WordPress's growth. Granted, he has a way better vantage point from atop a tower of data that we don't have access to. I'm relying on my own gut instinct, naivete, and the feedback from my audience to deliver this message. Take it for what it's worth. In a tweet back on September 25th, Matt Mullenweg, in response to Scott Bollinger's post, "If WP only appeals to technical folks, how do you explain the growth?" And in this statement here, I'm seeing the argument that the solo WordPress website owner is responsible for the greater growth of WordPress, and therefore Matt Mullenweg sees that as the driving force behind the growth of WordPress. To that I say, incorrect, sir. There are so many of us suiting up every single day to be the champion for WordPress.org and even WordPress.com in some instances to keep the project moving forward. Who is responsible for all of this WordPress, you might ask? A business can't survive without strong sales and customer service, two competencies that are arguably the lifeblood of a company. Many of you reading this fill that exact gap for the open source WordPress project. I don't mean this as a slight to the thousands of wonderful people that build the software, document it, and support it in the forums, but that consultants, doing it right or wrong, are fueling this locomotive too. There are no official sales or customer service channels at WordPress.org, and us consultants bear the brunt of it, for better or for worse, and that's where our job comes in. Just as you trust a core contributor to spot check her code and ensure that we've sanitized all the things, consultants are making sure the customers are getting the right setup for WordPress on the right hosting with the right tools and plugins and themes installed with longevity in mind. Consultants are the boots on the ground, and as you'll see below in my feedback section, represent a disproportionate ratio of launching many more websites than an individual website owner. Mullenweg alludes to the end user, what I'm calling the solo site owner, as the driving force behind its growth. He might, probably does, can we have it please, have more data than me, but on the flip side, it might be a vanity metric. If you're counting all the one-click installs on GoDaddy or .com installs, perhaps, but how many of them were influenced or eventually turned to a professional to take over the reins? Just back of the napkin math, a consultant might launch 50 to 1 websites in a year versus an individual blogger or business owner launching their first and only website. What happens when that number compounds over 5 years? On paper, I'm responsible for 500 plus WordPress websites in the wild, not counting the hundreds of other people online and in my local community I've influenced over the years. I'm sure you're in a similar boat as an individual or a team that is responsible for growing adoption of WordPress. And I thank you for that. And I thank everyone else that makes this project possible, truly and deeply. It is one-to-one versus one-to-many. Again, maybe I'm just naive, but out of the 500 websites I've helped build in some way, roughly 70% of that list counted on me to sell them on the software and support it. I was sales plus customer service for the open source CMS. I was the face of their decision and the person they relied on to get it all working. You too, I'm sure. I could have offered Drupal, Expression Engine, or Squarespace, and my customers would have bought it regardless. Many of my WordPress peers are making that same adjustment today. Sure, I would still have to support it, but those applications and parent companies have an easier story to tell. The waters aren't muddied. You pay for a product, you know the expectations. Matt, if you're listening, do you know how hard it is to explain to someone new in the space what the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org is? Add Jetpack, an automatic company, to the mix and heads begin to explode, especially when in-app ads cause uncertainty. When you compete with yourself, step outside of the WordPress bubble for a moment and imagine selling a product that competes with itself. It's not uncommon, really, and unfortunately. Think of the confusion and apprehension a customer might feel when hearing that you have another paid alternative that's getting coined as easier and all-in-one alternative made by the team behind WordPress.com. I've actually been there before, selling Chevys, and customers would ask, what about these GMCs over here? Two of the exact same products by the same company, different badges. We all know how that turned out. General Motors went bankrupt. Maybe not directly because of this mixed brand recognition, but certainly adding this line of the confusion didn't help. In fact, they axed Pontiac and Oldsmobile because of this result, the least performant of the mix. Enter in sales. That's where us consultants spend our time selling this story. The story, the benefits, and the future growth of WordPress. Blue-collar WordPress workers need a seat at the table. I consider myself a blue-collar digital worker. I'm pulling at the strands of WordPress as it begins to move away from me. Jetpack plus .com plus Gutenberg are reshaping the opportunity we once knew into something else. A lot of what we do has already been commoditized in the last 2 years, and it's only getting worse. I'm a believer that once the market corrects, we will discover new inroads, but for now, we fight to find ways to earn. I don't know about you, but I'm rolling up my sleeves and getting my hands a lot dirtier navigating these uncharted seas. On one hand, everyone has a SaaS, a podcast, an info product, or an agency to service customers. On the other, Jetpack and .com set their sights directly on consultants and product creators to ramp up their own revenue efforts, potentially squeezing us out of the middle market. I'll let you formulate your own caricature of the upper class versus middle class in this context. Don't lose sight of us. When I first had Matt on the show, it was off of his remarks that Jetpack was responsible for a large portion of the growth of WordPress, a comment that was almost thrown out or lost in the shuffle. To that I say, what about the free paid plugins? What about the free paid themes? How have these helped boost the adoption of WordPress? See, even some many years ago, Matt knew where Jetpack was going as a monetization platform that we just weren't aware of yet. Now it's staring us down the barrel of its golden money gun. Jetpack was about to take on the feature set and revenue share of other plugins, big and small, in the market. And now, as I read this piece, I feel that the same squeeze play will begin with consultants. Not by taking away our livelihood, or that VIP will launch a services business, but that we're not being considered to shape the product as our clients use it. So why do I care? I am so very passionate about the guidance of WordPress because it represents free speech, the democratization of publishing, and the livelihood of so many hardworking people around the globe. See my friends over at HeroPress.com. I respect the decisions being made from Core and Automatic, and expect the same in return that our collective voices are heard, regardless if we can contribute code or not. That not all of WordPress growth comes from a fancy feature or a new design language think tank, but from how real-world people are using the software. I yearn for the ambitious days where WordPress wanted to be the operating system for the web and not just settle as a Wix competitor. I want to connect my refrigerator to a custom post type via the REST API, well, because I can. I celebrate everyone that contributes to WordPress success, from the smallest line of code to the sponsorship donations at WordCamps. You all have built something truly worthy of global recognition. If you've not yet contributed in your own way yet, I ask that you start however you see fit. A blog post, a YouTube video, or join over at make.wordpress.org. Either direction you take, it's important you make your voice and opinions heard. Like Mullenweg said before me, I too believe that what got us here won't get us there. A better software for all. It's up to us to get involved. While I feel that new mediums must be created for greater community feedback, we have some tools and places you can go to get involved. If you want to affect change, visit the following channels or conferences. Many of you know about WordPress meetups. If you want to start up a WordPress meetup in your own area, I encourage you to do it. I have one in my local South Coast, Massachusetts area that I run. It's a great time. Very small, about a dozen to 15 or so people show up every other month or so. It's a great time. Get involved. Again, I mentioned the link, make.wordpress.org. There's a marketing channel now, which arguably I should be in and chatting with. I just have to carve out the time. There's a community channel. If you just want to get involved with the greater community, go to WordPress meetup, WordCamps, things like that. Get more involved on Twitter. It's another great place to just starting injecting yourself into valuable conversations. Is the way that I sort of do it. And join a WordPress professional group like WP Elevation if you're learning to elevate your business. It just gets me every time that Troy coined that phrase because I always use that term, elevate. If you want to get more involved with sort of the deeper thinking side or just a deeper sort of professional community over at poststatus.com, my friend Brian Krogsgaard does a great job there. If you head over to the blog post, you might be listening to this on the blog post, so you can just scroll down and sort of read this stuff. But if you're listening on iTunes, head over to mattreport.com, the growth of WordPress, and scroll down to the bottom. I sent out an email and asked folks to give me their opinions on why they felt WordPress was growing so much and how many websites they're responsible for as consultants, because sort of the context of this is, let's not forget us consultants that are out there. We do represent a sizable portion of WordPress installs and are the face of it for most folks. So again, we have some great feedback. Yes, it's on us to contribute and get our voices heard, but also want to make sure that the overall direction isn't looking at us like just people grabbing money or making money off of this stuff. We have a lot of smart people here that might not write lines of code or be able to carve out, a meeting every single week to contribute, but if there were a user summit or something like that, it'd be a great thing. Anyway, bottom of the post. Plenty of quotes here. There's some awesome quotes from CEO of Security, Tony Perez. He put a lot of thought into that response, so go ahead and check that out. I'll read one from one quote right in front of me. Brennan Bliss, responsible for 40 to 60 WordPress websites. WordPress growth as a platform is primarily the outcome of a large community of independent creators who want to publish multiple ideas without the technical limitations. That's why WordPress is used, promoted by so many technophiles. There's 20 different quotes here from varying range of degrees of people's skill sets. And they all account to over 2,000 WordPress installs. That's 100 to 1, versus somebody who installs one website. It's pretty amazing. That's why I think our voice is so valuable in here. So go check that out. If you have your own story, leave that in the comments below. Thanks for listening. If you like this episode, go ahead and share it. Every now and again, I do these solo pieces. I don't know. I can't stand the sound of my own voice. What do you think? Leave me a 5-star review in iTunes if this is your first time here. Thanks for listening. mattreport.com/subscribe to join the mailing list. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around and listening to this episode and supporting the Matt Report. For over 5 years now, it's been a pleasure of mine. It was a pleasure to have this guest on today to talk about their business and how they run it. Speaking of business, if you have something you're launching, you have a new website, a new marketing page, a new product, anything that could use a second set of eyes, you can find me at userfeedbackvideos.com. That's userfeedbackvideos.com, where I will review your product, your landing page, your funnel, whatever workflow or starting point you want me to take a look at online. I'll do that. I'll record it. I'll send it to you in a private screencast with my feedback from over a decade of experience in this space, marketing, technology, WordPress, and otherwise. I hope to see you there. It's userfeedbackvideos.com. It's like having a co-founder for $59.